Luck is the comfort of the man who failed to plan. I have heard that word my entire life. Luck. Men used it to explain what they could not understand. They said I was lucky. They said the timing was right. They said I was simply in the right place. They were wrong. I was never in the right place. I built the right place. Then I moved into it. 90% of the market was not an accident. It was an execution. Precise, methodical, without apology. Every pipeline, every refinery, every railroad contract, each one was a deliberate move on a board that most men did not even know they were sitting at. You want to understand what I did? Then you must first understand what you are doing wrong. You are chasing a paycheck. I chase the system that prints them. There is a difference between a man who works inside a machine and a man who owns the machine. One man gets tired, one man gets rich. Both men wake up every morning. Only one of them is building something that will outlive him. I was not born with a fortune. I was born with a method. The method is what I am going to give you today. Not inspiration, not motivation, architecture. The kind that once you understand it, makes you look at every bank, every contract, and every paycheck you have ever received with completely different eyes. Pay close attention. I do not repeat myself. Currency is paper. It moves, it inflates, it evaporates. Governments print it when they run short of ideas and short of courage. The man who saves currency is storing water in his hands. It will be gone before he needs it most. Capital is different. Capital is power in a structure. It is a pipeline that runs whether you are awake or asleep. It is a railroad contract that moves product, whether you are present or absent. Capital is the machine. Currency is only what the machine produces. I never wanted to sell oil. Selling oil was what my competitors did. I wanted to own the pipes that moved it, the railroads that carried it, the refineries that processed it, and the distribution networks that delivered it. I wanted to own every link in the chain, because if you own every link, no competitor can enter without your permission, and no customer can leave without your approval. This is what the modern world calls vertical integration. I call it common sense. If you do not own the entire chain, you are not an entrepreneur. You are a highly paid tenant. You operate inside someone else's infrastructure, pay someone else's tolls, and depend on someone else's goodwill to survive. That is not business. That is employment with better marketing. The shift I am asking you to make today is not complicated. Stop asking, how do I make more money? Start asking, what part of the chain do I not yet own? Every industry has a chain. Real estate has one, finance has one, technology has one. The man who maps the chain and systematically acquires each link, that man does not compete. He does not need to. He simply owns the board. Asset management is not about picking stocks. It is about owning infrastructure, hard assets, legal structures, revenue-generating machines that operate independently of your personal time. Time is the only resource I could not purchase more of, which is precisely why I made certain that my assets never slept. Competition is a sin. I mean that precisely and without drama. Competition is the inefficient allocation of resources by men who have not yet understood that collaboration, forced or otherwise, is always more profitable. When a competitor entered my market, I did not panic. I did not retaliate with price wars. Price wars destroy margins and exhaust both sides equally. That is amateur thinking. Most men, when cornered financially, will negotiate. When their supply lines are pressured, when their railroad contracts are quietly reassigned, when their financing becomes suddenly unavailable, they negotiate. Don't fight a war when you can buy the battlefield. I purchased over 40 competing refineries in less than 2 years. not by force, by economics. I made the cost of resistance higher than the price of surrender. One by one, they came to the table. One by one, they signed. The press called it ruthless. My shareholders called it efficient. I called it geometry. Now, litigation. This is where modern men fail completely. Most people see law as a defensive tool. They hire lawyers when they are sued. They call attorneys when something goes wrong. This is backwards. The law is the most powerful offensive weapon ever devised by civilized society, and the wealthy have known this for centuries. The man who follows every rule never writes them. I did not merely comply with legal structures. I helped architect them, interpret them, and position myself favorably within them before my competitors understood what those structures even contained. By the time the regulations arrived, I had already built my walls inside them. Litigation is not warfare. It is asset protection at the systemic level. Know the law before you need it. Position yourself within it before your opponents understand it. Move first. Always move first. Speed is strategy. Hesitation is surrender. You think the game has changed. It has not. The players have changed their clothing. The mechanism is identical. What I did in the oil fields, controlling the infrastructure, limiting competition, extracting maximum rent from those who had no alternative, your modern financial system does to you every single day. Your bank offers you a savings account. It pays you 1% interest. It lends your money to others at 7, 9, 12%. The spread between those two numbers is the tax you pay simply for trusting someone else with your capital. Your employer offers you a 401k. It locks your wealth inside a legal vehicle that the government controls, that fund managers skim fees from annually, and that you cannot access without severe penalty until they decide you are old enough to have it back. This is not a retirement plan. This is a leash with a comfortable handle. I am not telling you to break laws. I am telling you to understand them with the same precision that those who designed these systems understand them. The wealthy do not save inside 401ks. They build structures, legal entities, trust funds, family offices that allow capital to compound within frameworks that are explicitly tax-advantaged, legally protected, and structurally separate from their personal liability. Tax mitigation is not a loophole. It is literacy. The tax code was written with the full understanding that those who could afford competent legal counsel would use every available provision within it. That was the design. Not the flaw, the design. Estate planning is not for the dying, it is for the deliberate. The moment your wealth exists outside of a properly constructed legal structure, it is not fully yours. It belongs to probate courts, tax authorities, and whoever files the right paperwork fastest when you are no longer available to defend it. Build the walls before you need them. That is not paranoia, that is asset management. I did not leave money to my children. Money disappears. It gets spent. It gets mismanaged. It gets taxed into fractions of its original power across 2 generations. I left them trusts, legal structures that preserve capital across generations, that compound quietly, that cannot be seized in a lawsuit, cannot be split in a divorce, and cannot be drained by a government looking to settle its debts. A trust is not an account. It is an institution. It carries its own rules, its own governance, its own perpetual mandate. The Rockefeller name did not survive because my children were disciplined. It survived because the architecture I built did not require their discipline to function. This is the distinction between generational wealth and generational income. Income requires someone to keep earning it. Wealth, properly structured, requires only someone to maintain the structure. The most dangerous financial mistake a man can make is announcing his next move before he makes it. Every time you publicly telegraph an investment, an acquisition, or a strategic shift, you invite competition, inflate your own costs, and alert the very people whose ignorance is your advantage. I executed in silence, always. By the time the market understood what I had built, it was already built. The walls were already in place. The contracts were already signed. The only remaining question was whether to let others in, and on what terms. If your wealth does not have a legal wall around it, it is not yours. It is simply uncollected. The government will collect it. Creditors will collect it. Courts will collect it. Grief, divorce, and time will collect it. Build the wall first. Move the wealth inside second. Then, and only then, build more. Silence, structure, sequence. That is the method. I have given you more in these minutes than most men learn in a career. What you do with it is not my concern. It never was. I have been called a villain, a monopolist, a destroyer of the free market. Men with smaller bank accounts and louder opinions have said so for over a century. My bank account does not read newspapers. Here is the only question that matters now, the one I want you to sit with after this screen goes dark. Are you a player on the board, or are you the one moving the pieces? Most people spend their entire lives as players. They follow the rules as written, they save dutifully, they work reliably, they trust the system designed by people who understood it far better than they did. A small number of people read the rules carefully. Then they hire someone who helped write them. Then they build a structure that operates within the rules, but in a direction the rules were never quite designed to stop. That second group does not get lucky, they get deliberate. Was I a savior or a villain? I built industries that powered a nation. I also crushed every competitor who stood in my path. I employed hundreds of thousands and controlled their livelihoods simultaneously. My bank account does not care about your verdict, but your verdict about yourself, that one matters. Comment one word below, player or architect. I will be watching. Subscribe. More will come for those ready to receive it.